Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Archana Solanki. Here are the headlines we're tracking this evening. The union government invokes anti-terror law after a car blast near Delhi's RedFort metro station killed at least 12 people. Home Ministry transfers the probe to the NIA, India's principal counter-terror agency, on an official visit to Bhutan. Prime Minister Modi says agencies will get to the bottom of the conspiracy. Positive global cues lift Dalal Street. Market regains most of last week's losses. Nifty nears 25,700. Net equity inflows into mutual funds dip for the third straight month, even as SIP inflows hit another record high. US President Donald Trump says we are pretty close to doing a deal with India, adds the tariffs will be reduced at some point. India faces 50% US tariffs, which is the highest in the world, along with Brazil. US Senate passes a spending package to end the government shutdown. The bill will now move to the House for a vote and then to the President's desk for approval at 42 days. This is the longest government shutdown in the US history. SoftBank sells its entire stake in Nvidia for nearly $6 billion. Investments in OpenAI and PayPal help SoftBank's profits double in Q2. VisionFund alone reports a gain of $19 billion. I'm going quiet, sort of, says legendary investor Warren Buffett in his last letter to shareholders as the CEO of Berkshire, ending a tradition that started 6 decades ago. Also expedites the transfer of his $149 billion estate to charity before handing over the baton to Greg Abel. Construction and demolition activities banned across Delhi as air quality worsens. Schools shift to hybrid mode from nursery to class 5. Residents advised to avoid outdoor activity during early mornings and late evenings. 122 seats across 20 districts go to polls in the final phase of Bihar Assembly elections. Polling takes place at over 45,000 booths. Election results will be announced this Friday. Catch our coverage of the exit polls starting 7 p.m. tonight. Just a month after winning a reprieve in the Supreme Court, Sajjan Jindal's JSW Steel plans to sell up to 50% stake in Bhushan Power and Steel. Sources say Japan's JFE Steel is the front-runner. That's an exclusive. And world's first armless female archery champion Sheetal Devi does the impossible yet again, becomes the first para-archer to qualify and compete with India's able-bodied team. We speak to archery champion a little later on the show. All right, our top story this evening. The Home Ministry has transferred the RedFort CarBlast case to NIA, India's principal counter-terrorism law enforcement agency. At least 12 people were killed and several others were injured after a powerful car explosion ripped through Delhi's RedFort area last evening. As per the police, the blast took place inside a moving Hyundai i20 car at a traffic signal near RedFort metro station close to 7 p.m. As per reports, investigators traced the car to a man from Pulwama in Jammu and Kashmir. The national capital has been placed on high alert with strict vigil being maintained at the airport, railway stations and bus terminals. Home Minister Amit Shah held multiple high-level meetings to take stock of the situation. Prime Minister Modi, who flew to Bhutan this morning on an official trip, sent a message from the capital. He said that the government will get to the bottom of the conspiracy.
हमारी एजेंसियां इस षड्यंत्र की तह तक जाएगी। इसके पीछे के षड्यंत्रकारियों को बख्शा नहीं जाएगा। All those responsible will be brought to justice.
I'm here at the Red Fort. Behind me, you can see the Red Fort, and I'll ask my camera person to pan at a corner over there where there's a white tent. That is the exact crime spot. That is where the explosion happened. This is one of the busiest signals of this particular area of Chandni Chowk. And as we speak, Home Minister Amit Shah has taken a meeting in the morning with the senior officials of IB, NSG, Delhi Police, also NIA, and now the case has been formally handed over to NIA because in the FIR, several sections of BNS, of UAPA and of the Explosive Acts have been invoked. To be precise, Section 1618 of UAPA, Section 3 of Explosives Act and Section 103, 109, 1 and 61, 2 of BNS have been invoked. Remember, there are traces that are being drawn because of the explosives, the huge amount of ammonium nitrate that was being seized in a joint operation between Jammu Kashmir Police and Haryana Police at Faridabad. The vehicle which got exploded actually had an HR, that is Haryana number plate, and it is understood from sources, the police is sharing informally also, that the vehicle started from Faridabad in the morning yesterday itself around 8:30, and it reached this car parking at RedFort at about 3 p.m. and then at 6:52 p.m. is when the explosion happened.
All right, let's talk about the day's market action. Positive global cues lift Dalal Street with the Nifty nearing the 25,700 mark. 40 Nifty stocks closed in the green. Broader markets moved in line with the benchmarks. And staying with the equity markets, SIP inflows have hit a record high in October, according to data from the Association of Mutual Funds. SIP inflows have been rising since July due to steady retail participation. However, equity fund inflows eased, slowing down 19% on a monthly basis. This is the third straight month of a decline in overall equity inflows. Interestingly, gold ETFs managed to attract investors despite record high prices. Inflows managed to stay above 7,700 crore rupees despite some decline compared to September. Now, brokerage firm Citi has said that there is a possibility that the government is considering hiking excise duty in petrol and diesel after Bihar elections. In a note, Citi has said that a one rupee hike per litre generates revenue worth 17,000 crore rupees for the government. If the excise duty is hiked, this could have an impact on some oil marketing companies. All right, on to a CNBC TV18 exclusive. We learn from sources that JSW Steel is looking to sell up to 50% stake in Bhushan Power and Steel. Japan's JFE Steel has emerged as the frontrunner to pick up stake in the firm. Yash Jain is here with the details. Yash, please take us through what your sources are telling you.
Well, very interesting transaction as far as the M&A space for JSW Steel is concerned. What we've been given to understand from our sources is that JSW Steel is looking to sell up to 50% stake in Bhushan Power and Steel. Now, this asset, that is Bhushan Power and Steel, is the same asset which JSW acquired first under NCLT, under the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. That decision was then overturned by the Supreme Court, which going ahead was again overturned in favor of JSW Steel, where JSW Steel was allowed to acquire this asset for the revival of the asset. What we've been given to understand from our sources is that Japan's JFE Steel is the front runner when it comes to picking up this 50% stake from JSW in Bhushan Power and Steel. We've written to JSW Steel also on this particular query. The company, in response to our query, has said that JSW Steel's strategy includes evaluating various opportunities, both organic and inorganic in India and overseas, including potential collaborations aimed at enhancing scale, efficiency and global competitiveness. However, the company would not like to comment on speculation.
Right, thank you, Yash, for that. Shifting focus now, US President Donald Trump has reiterated India's purchases of Russian oil have been reduced substantially. Speaking to reporters at the White House, Trump said, and I quote, "We are going to be bringing the tariffs down at some point. We are going to be bringing them down," unquote. He also added that his administration is making a deal with India, and a much different one than they had in the past.
Right now, the tariffs are very high on India because of the Russian oil, and they've stopped doing the Russian oil. It's been reduced very substantially. Yeah, we're going to be bringing the tariffs down. You know, we're making a deal with India, a much different deal than we had in the past. So right now, they don't love me, but they'll love us again. We're getting a fair deal, just a fair trade deal. We had pretty unfair trade deals. They're very good negotiators, sir. Just you have to take a look at that, if you would, please. But we're getting close, Scott. I think we're pretty close to doing a deal that's good for everybody, right?
Sergio Gore has been sworn in as the U.S. ambassador to India and is special envoy to South and Central Asia. U.S. President Donald Trump, who presided over the ceremony, expressed confidence that Gore would strengthen economic ties with India and deliver an outstanding performance in his new role. The US is inching closer to ending the longest government shutdown. The Senate has passed a spending package to end the shutdown. The bill will now move to the House for a vote and then to the President's desk for approval. The bill was passed in a 60-40 vote with nearly all Republicans joining 8 Democrats voting in favor. The deal will fund the government until the end of January. We told you first, and now it's official. Car Trade has confirmed that it's in talks to acquire Car Dekho and Bike Dekho. CNBC TV18 had reported earlier that the deal will be valued at over $1.2 billion. Sources had also indicated earlier that Insurance Dekho acquisition may be re-looked at later stage. The initial public offering of Physicswala opened for subscription today. The price band for the issue has been set in the range of 103 to 109 rupees a share. The first day of the issue saw subscription led by employees, retail investors and non-institutional investors. As of 4 p.m., the EdTech's overall subscription stood at 6%. Physicswala has also raised around 1,560 crore rupees from 57 investors, with global names like Goldman Sachs, Franklin Templeton on board. The initial public offering of Pine Labs was subscribed over 2.4 times on the final day of bidding. As of 4 p.m., the subscription was led by the portion reserved for qualified institutional buyers, followed by retail investors. The Fint has managed to raise 1,753 crore rupees from 70 anchor investors. The IPO is a combination of a fresh issue of sale worth 2,080 crore rupees and the remaining portion allotted as offer for sale. All right, let's take a short break. Coming up next, construction and demolition activities are banned across Delhi as air quality worsens. More details to come in a bit. Welcome back. Legendary investor Warren Buffett has written his last letter to shareholders as the CEO of Berkshire Hathaway. In an 8-page letter, the Oracle of Omaha reflected on his life, succession, and offered some words of wisdom. Firstly, Buffett is keeping a significant amount of Class A shares until Berkshire shareholders develop a level of comfort with his successor, Greg. He believes that level of confidence shouldn't take long. Buffett praised Greg, who is set to take over as CEO from year-end. He said, and I quote, "Greg has more than met the high expectations I had for him when I first thought he should be Berkshire's next CEO. My hope is that his health remains good for several decades. With a little luck, Berkshire should require only 5 or 6 CEOs over the next century." End of quote. Speaking about his own health, the 95-year-old Buffett said, "Though I move slowly and read with increasing difficulty, I am at the office 5 days a week where I work with wonderful people." End of quote. He also had some words of advice. He said, and I quote, "Decide what you would like your obituary to say and live the life to deserve it." He ended the letter with a poignant message: "Choose your heroes very carefully and then emulate them. You will never be perfect, but you can always be better." End of quote. Warren Buffett is also expediting the transfer of his $149 billion estate to charity before handing over the baton to Greg. Now, SoftBank has reported a solid set of numbers, with the company posting a $19 billion gain on its VisionFund. The company also announced that it has offloaded its entire stake in Nvidia for over $5 billion. Rachna Dhanrajani joins us now with more. Rachna, please take us through SoftBank's plans.
Right. SoftBank's exit from Nvidia marks another bold move by Masayoshi Son. He's cashing out of the world's most valuable AI chip maker just as he builds his own AI ecosystem. Now, this isn't the first time SoftBank has walked away from Nvidia. Back in 2017, the VisionFund was among Nvidia's earliest backers, building a $4 billion stake before selling it all out in 2019 and missing the historic rally that followed. But this time, the story is different. Nvidia's meteoric rise has already helped power Masayoshi Son's comeback, and it shows in this quarter's earnings as it drove SoftBank's profit to a record 2.5 trillion yen, or that's about $16 billion. That's far exceeding the market expectations. And so this sale, worth $5.8 billion comes alongside record-breaking earnings. The company's VisionFund posted a $19 billion gain, helped by soaring valuations on OpenAI, Oracle, and PayPay. SoftBank's total revenue rose to 3.7 trillion yen, while pre-tax income more than doubled from last year. The stock has also been on a tear, jumping 78% in 3 months, its best performance since 2005. And in a move to attract more investors, SoftBank has announced a 4-for-1 stock split effective January 1st. Now, Sun is putting those Nvidia gains to work, committing $30 billion to OpenAI, $6.5 billion to chipmaker Ampere, and working with TSMC on a $1 trillion AI manufacturing hub in Arizona. For Masayoshi Son, this is more than a profit story. It's a pivot from investing in AI's biggest winners to building the infrastructure behind it. SoftBank is betting that this time the AI boom will have their name written all over it and not just as investors.
Right, thank you, Rachna, for that update. And staying with global earnings, electronics giant Sony posted strong numbers in the second quarter. The company has also announced a share buyback of up to $648 million. Revenue for the quarter rose 5%, while operating profit jumped 10% on an annual basis. The company has also raised its full-year guidance, expecting operating profit to rise 8% from the previous fiscal year. Back home, 122 constituencies across 20 districts have gone to polls in the final phase of Bihar Assembly elections. Polling is taking place at over 45,000 booths. The results will be announced this Friday. CNN News 18's Arun Dhanta joins us now with more from Purnia.
We are in Purnia, which is under the Simanchal region. Of course, it's a very, very politically important region, and therefore you can see we are here in one of the polling booths, and that's how these people are welcoming voters here. This is, of course, a special initiative being done by here the administration to really give that thumping welcome to the voters. And as Election Commission has been speaking about this, that they are putting all their efforts and energies to bring more and more voters to the polling booth. And talking about polling, we have seen in this Simanchal region last time 60% voting taking place, which is a huge, and the same thing is being expected this time also. You can already see that people have started queuing up here outside the polling booth. We are in Purnia Assembly at this point. Let me quickly give you a brief about this entire region, how it shaped in 2020 Assembly elections. There are 24 seats in the entire Simanchal region, and out of those 24 seats, 12 went to the NDA in 2020 and 5 to the Congress party, 1 to RJD. And also, of course, we have seen MIM played a very crucial role here, winning 5 seats.
Another big story that we're tracking, the Delhi pollution. The government has invoked stricter anti-pollution measures in Delhi NCR as air quality slipped into the severe category. Shivani Bajaj reports on the new restrictions that take effect.
Well, absolutely. Air quality in Delhi NCR has officially entered the severe zone, forcing authorities to trigger a stage 3 of the Graded Response Action Plan, or the GRAP, starting today. The citywide average AQI has jumped to 425, with several hotspots showing even higher readings. Bhavna, for example, is at 462, Alipur is at 442, Chandni Chowk at 416, and so are various other regions and areas in Delhi NCR. With pollution levels rising sharply, the administration has moved to tighten curbs. Under GRAP Stage 3, all non-essential construction and demolition activities are now banned in NCR, along with the closure of stone crushers and hot mix plants. Municipal bodies have been instructed to intensify road cleaning and dust control in the city. Importantly, the worsening of air quality has now begun to affect the school and Delhi general life in Delhi. Schools have now been asked to shift to a hybrid model for class 1st to 5th, meaning online classes and more flexibility for younger children in Delhi NCR to save them from toxic air. Doctors are also advising residents, especially children and elderly, to not step out during the morning and the evening hours when pollution levels peak. So while enforcement has now stepped up with GRAP Stage 3 in place, the immediate priority remains protecting public health as Delhi once again battles the hazardous winter air. Back to you.
Right, thank you, Shivani, for that. And We have an amazing piece of news for you. World's first armless female archery champion, Sheetal Devi, has done the impossible. She's become the first para-archer from India to make it into the able-bodied team. The 18-year-old from Jammu and Kashmir was born without arms and shoots arrows using her feet and shoulders. But she dreamed bigger, to compete against athletes without disabilities in the able-bodied category. Sheetal will now represent India at the Asia Cup Stage 3 in Jeddah. Here's a snippet of my conversation with her. आपने एक बहुत ही काफ़ी पॉपुलर शो में अमिताभ बच्चन जी से कहा था कि आपका सबसे बड़ा सपना है कि एबल बॉडी कैटेगरी में compete करना है. उस मोमेंट में जब आपका शॉर्टलिस्ट हुआ, जब आपका सिलेक्शन हुआ, क्या चल रहा था आपके दिमाग में?
मेरे दिमाग में तो मैं खुश थी बहुत कि मैं सिलेक्शन हुआ मेरा, क्योंकि जब मैं केबीसी में थी तब भी मैंने कहा था कि मुझे एबल बॉडी के साथ खेलना है, मेरा सपना है. क्योंकि जब से मैंने स्टार्ट किया है तब से ही मतलब पहले से ही मैंने एबल बॉडी के साथ खेला था. पहला नेशनल में एबल बॉडी के साथ था तो वहाँ पे मैं हार गई थी. तो तब से ही मेरी एक जिद थी कि मुझे एबल बॉडी के साथ खेलना है और एबल बॉडी के साथ ही मेडल जीतने हैं.
काफ़ी ये रिकॉर्ड ब्रेकिंग अचीवमेंट है शीतल जी. इंडिया की पहली पैरा प्लेयर हैं आप. मैं आपसे जानना चाहती हूँ कि इस कंपटीशन में आपके लिए क्या बदल जाएगा? ट्रेनिंग बदल जाएगी? मेंटली किस तरीके से आपको अब आगे का जो रास्ता है वो तय करना है?
देखो मैम, बदला तो कुछ नहीं है क्योंकि सेम वही रहेगा. जैसे पैरा में हूँ वैसे ही एबल में भी, तो बदले वालेगा कुछ नहीं, सेम ही रहेगा. मतलब
जो आपके आसपास के लोग हैं वो काफ़ी बचपन में आपको टोका करते थे, आपके पेरेंट्स को टोका करते थे, लेकिन जैसे ही आपको सक्सेस मिला लाइफ में, उन लोगों का जो बिहेवियर है वो आपकी तरफ बदलने लगा.
हाँ जी मैम, देखो पहले भी देखा हो मैंने या आपने भी देखा हो कि जब हम कुछ नहीं होते तो तब हमसे कोई बात नहीं करना चाहता है. जब हम कुछ बनते हैं तो तब हमसे सारे लोग हमसे बात करना मतलब चाहते हैं या मिलना चाहते हैं. तो जब से मतलब हम सक्सेसफुल होते जा रहे हैं तो वैसे ही लोग मिलते जा रहे हैं.
जैसे आपने कहा कि अभी लोग आपसे मिलना चाहते हैं, ये बात बिल्कुल सच है कि आपसे बहुत लोग मिलना चाहते हैं, लेकिन मैं आपसे ये जानना चाहती हूँ कि आप किससे मिलना चाहते हैं? कोई ऐसा इंसान है जिसको आप बहुत ही ज्यादा लुक अप टू करते हैं? आप
फर्स्ट पे हैं दलजीत जी, मुझे उनसे मैं मिलना चाहती हूँ. तो
ये मुझे पता चला है कि आपको दिलजीत दोसांझ काफी पसंद है. कोई उनका फेवरेट गाना है जो आपको कुछ ज्यादा ही अच्छा लगता है?
गाने तो उनके बहुत अच्छे हैं बट मेरे को ना याद नहीं रहते.
And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Business 360. More news and updates continue right here on CNBC TV18.